per percentage, there's no percentage for each component. Again, as mentioned earlier, more credits for the courses that other than the core and the major. There will be new variant of the bachelor degree. Instead of single major, major with specialization is also introduced. For example, bachelor in accounting in bracket auditing, specializing in auditing. Major with minor, bachelor in accounting with analytics. So each would have a different, slightly different requirements. So the details is as follow. The first column is the single major. So this would be the degrees, the accounting degree, which is commonly offered, available now in most of universities. So the compulsory courses minimum is 8 as per MQA requirement. Of course, as we could already been experiencing, all of us, some universities will require more. There's a specific requirement for each university. There will be common core, 30, discipline core, industrial training, and subtotal with 102. Remaining balance 18 can be placed in any of the categories above to complete the 120 requirement. For any of you who have seen the Hala to Do, I know you would notice that there will be difference, because Hala to Do is the last column here. Hala to Do 4. Under Hala to Do 4, when Hala to Do was developed, it was based on the old standard. So if you could see that in the Hala to Do book, there's still requirement of percentage and so on. So perhaps later on, there should be further discussion, because the MQA has taken out the percentage requirement to give a little bit more flexibility to the universities to actually work around the numbers, because sometimes the percentage actually limiting us from actually being have a little bit slightly different program structure. So under Hala to Do, as commonly required in public universities, the compulsory courses, about 20 courses. Maybe some university will require more, as I heard. For example, USIM would have their own specific Arabic language and so on added here. So maybe you would have more. The common core, what we did was, when we discussed about this, we ensure the common core and discipline core and industrial training would be aligned with the Hala to Do. So we retain the common core at 30, discipline core at 56, and industrial training at 8, so that they are aligned with the Hala to Do 4 requirements. So Hala to Do would have the elective, because it is based on the old standard, as I said earlier, and the slightly more 1, 2, 3 credits requirement. Okay, so as I said, the standard is supposed to provide a baseline, so it can be the minimum, and of course universities can actually have more, not just the bare minimum. So the 18 credits actually would allow the universities to be the freedom and flexibility to actually align their program towards a certain maybe experts area. So if you want to have more courses in IT, for example, or IT analytics, perhaps the 18 would cover more on that. So that would be giving more freedom to the universities to create a niche for their program. As bachelor degree is the usually has the highest number of students, I'm sure this is where the major interest of the most people here would be on the bachelor degrees requirement. And also the third column on major with specialization, also supporting the spirit of providing more well-rounded education to our students. And perhaps we want, in view of the current development in the industry and so on, certain universities perhaps would want to offer a bachelor degree with specialization, bachelor in accounting with specialization in certain area. For example, UUM would have quite a large number of people in the area of taxation, for example, and they would have the capacity in terms of resources to offer bachelor in accounting in bracket taxation. So this is the standard that we suggest. As you could notice here, the common compulsory common core, discipline core, industrial training would be the same, but for specialization, there will be a major requirement, a specialization requirement of 20 credits would have to be in taxation related subjects. Okay, hence there will be the 18 credit as in the single major would not be there. So the total credit proposed minimum for major with specialization, bachelor in accounting, in taxation, in accounting, bracket taxation, for example, would have a minimum of 122 credits. The next variant that we are proposing would be major with minor. For example, bachelor in accounting with education. So the requirement for this is slightly different. We still remain intact. The 4 compulsory courses, common core, discipline core, industrial training will be the same. The 4 components would remain, but specialization or minor, because they are going to have another area of expertise that they're going to learn. There is a requirement that, if I'm not mistaken, at least 30%. Perhaps MQA will confirm with this, with us as this. And usually with minor, they have to fulfill the minor requirement, the specific requirement of the minor subject. So the proposed subject will be, the proposed total credit will be 128. Okay. All right. Let's move to, there's a note here for specialization. 2 courses are included in the discipline core. So the reason why it's 20 here, for example, taxation, bachelor in accounting in bracket taxation. In discipline core, as we commonly see, there would be at least 2 taxation courses already required in the discipline core. Perhaps corporate taxation and personal taxation. So that's why 20 would be left here. Okay? Whereas for major with minor, the whole 26 would be from the education related subject, if it's with education. This is only as an example to illustrate the point. So it may not be education, it may be something else, right? Okay, this already covered here. Quickly, I will go on program structure for master by coursework. There will be 2 versions or 2 variants under the updated one, with and without specialization. So you can see here, the total credit will be minimum 40, 30 common core, project paper 6, and 4 credits will be placed in any above of category to make 40 credits. With specialization, slightly different, 30 common, 10 would be required to be in the discipline. Let's say master or a master in accounting in bracket auditing, for example. So what we're saying here, at least 10 credit would have to be in auditing related papers. 6 will be project paper, and the program with specialization may have more than 40 minimum graduating credit. Okay. So specialist, master coursework specialist master program. This is new. For example, master in taxation. There will be specialist program. So there will be 20 minimum credit 40, and 24 would be in the body of knowledge of the corresponding discipline core. So this would be up to the universities to design their program to cater to the specialist area. Okay. So this is the standard notes that we have. Coursework component must include methodological training to prepare the student for the project paper, and there is a requirement for the project paper, 15,000 words. The project must be in the area of specialization, and also about electives. Elective can be non-accounting related courses. Okay. So for the rest, I think I will quickly skip unless there's interest to ask more later. A master degree by mixed mode, master degree by research, and a doctoral degree by mixed mode. Okay. I'm not sure currently whether there's any university offering doctoral degree by mixed mode, but I'm sure everybody would have doctoral degree by research. So this is similar to what we have, the standard that we have now. In terms of the requirement is 100% a dissertation. But of course, each university would have their own unique requirement, perhaps certain coursework that they need to take to prepare them in writing the thesis. Okay, so knowledge area, the next area is knowledge area. For accounting, the common core for bachelor, for programs in accounting, the common core would be business related. Major business, major areas would be, this is also looking into the requirements of IES, the competency framework, MIA, as well as looking at the Halatuju for bachelor degree requirements. So the common core area will be governance, risk management, and internal control, or certain, you can simply call it ethics and governance, business and organizational environment, marketing, management, business laws and regulation. We commonly see business law, corporate law, business strategy and management. Also in university, we commonly see strategic management as one of the capstone paper, and there's economics papers requirement as well as statistics or quantitative analysis. A discipline core, financial accounting and reporting, cost and management accounting, taxation, auditing, accounting information system, which include information system, accounting information system, as well as analytics. Okay, what we did was to ensure that for each discipline area, we provide something like this, a mapping for each level, what would be the areas that need to be covered. Okay, and also we provide the suggested learning outcomes for each discipline area. So as you notice, for example, for financial accounting, I will just show for one, because also interest of time and also the massive document which need to be covered here. So for example, financial accounting, if you could see, introduction, of course, will be covered at all levels. Second, GAAP also at all levels. You would have accounting for asset, accounting for liabilities, equities, and so on. So this is the mapping that we have done based on the major topics. So perhaps what is different is that these are the main topics, and that should be covered at each level of studies. And how the PPT is going to do it will be up to them. How you're going to design, whether you're going to have 3 financial accounting and reporting paper, or you're going to have 4 financial reporting, accounting and reporting paper, that will be up to the PPT. And because you can design based on your own objectives and intention, or to create niche for your program. So these are the example of the mapping. And the learning outcomes, a general learning outcome for financial accounting and reporting, meaning that once the student complete the papers at each level of financial accounting and reporting, they should be able to do this. Okay, record, analyze historical and prospective financial information, interpret and synthesize historical and prospective financial and non-financial information, and so on and so forth. And there's 16 here. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, how and when these areas, a body of knowledge, or this discipline area to be covered, it will be, the freedom will be for the individual university to devise or to come up with their own program. Okay, but important note is that if you could notice that there will be overlapping of topics for each the level, certificate, diploma, degree, and masters. But it is important to note that the implementation of learning outcome, even though the topic looks the same, each of them need to align with the BOK and address the level of complexity at the different level of studies. Of course, if we were to cover a preparation of, for example, here, number 20, consolidated preparation of consolidated financial statements, it will be covered at diploma level, degree, as well as masters. But of course, the level of complexity and depth for diploma level will be very, very basic as compared to, for example, at bachelor degree. So that's what we mean by this note. Okay, certificate and diploma level, the LOs and BOK will be at introductory level, whereas bachelor level will be application, analysis, and synthesis. Master and doctoral level will be application, analysis, and synthesis at advanced level of complexity. So this is the example how the learning outcome and the BOK would have to be designed into the program, addressing the level of complexity at the different level of studies. I hope that's clear. Okay, so for the nomenclature, this is the suggested nomenclature based on the current standard. For single major, program that focuses only in one area, it will be certificate in accounting, diploma in accounting, bachelor in accounting, master in accounting, and PhD in accounting. I notice now, of course, different universities would have slightly different naming of their program. So going forward, based on this suggested nomenclature adopted by MQA, I think we need to align to the new requirement. So I notice most of us would call Bachelor of Accounting, whereas the right nomenclature would be Bachelor in Accounting. Something that perhaps if we are not clear, we can have further discussion with MQA about this. Okay, nomenclature for major, as mentioned earlier, is something new for bachelor level, but it's not new for master's level. Program area that cover 25 to 30% of BOK in another area from the program major or discipline core. For example, just now, earlier on, we noticed bachelor in accounting bracket taxation. So meaning that 25 to 30% of the BOK covered in the program would have to come in the area in the related to taxation. Okay, bachelor in accounting bracket taxation, masters, for example, master in accounting bracket auditing or bracket information system. Okay, The next, also new for bachelor, major with minor. In terms of nomenclature, the requirement is that BOK must be 25 to 30% in the area of the major or minor area. Applicable to bachelor's degree level, indicated in the bracket, bachelor in accounting. Sorry, is it minor? I think I noticed some mistake here. It should be bachelor in accounting with. Perhaps Alwani can help me here. I think it should be with, because the previous one, specialization, is in bracket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, right. Okay. So sorry for this mistake. I didn't notice that. So it should be with taxation, with auditing, and with
minor with education.
Yeah. So let me correct this before I forget. It should be with this one also should be with. So as I said, right? Yeah, different, usually different discipline. Earlier we said education. Yeah, maybe with, I don't know, economics, something like that. So this is just an example. Okay. Okay. So all right. So this is the suggested naming of the program as per MQA requirements. And then you have specialist masters. Okay, this one I think already certain universities already having it. Master in taxation, I think UUM is having it now. Correct, Prof. Azia?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are also requirement is similar. 20 to 30% of the body of knowledge have to be related to the core area of specialist area. Okay. So area 2, assessment of student. I think area 2, I may not need not have to dwell into too much details, but the requirement would be the one that I want to highlight is in bold, new requirement. Candidates are required to pass both continuous and final assessment for each course. Okay. For some universities, the requirement is new, but for all the new standards, this is the requirements for each of the course. They must pass both components, continuous and final assessment. For the business school, I think the business standard already in place, and this is a similar requirement for the business standard. And for accounting, I think the practice is still varies among universities. There are universities that do not require that student need to pass both components. So of course, in terms of implementation, HEPs can define the meaning of a pass. However, a pass should imply that the examiner is satisfied that the candidate has met all the learning outcomes of a course. How you define pass, this is also given the freedom to the HEP. Certain HEP would have their own unique practices. So there is a little bit of flexibility there. But the requirement is that they have to pass both. For accounting courses, as we all notice, most of us would have maybe 40, 60, 40 continuous, 60 final exams, perhaps. And you notice here, the wordings is not final exam, final assessments, okay? So to avoid the confusion here, the final assessments can be final exams or any other assessment that students are required to do towards the end of the program or of the course. Okay, so it should be different from the assignments for continuous assessment. The final assessment can be exam or non-exam. Okay. The next one, the HEP must have clear marking guidelines such as assessment rubrics, marking schemes, and others for continuous and final assessments to indicate the achievement of course learning outcomes. I think these are already, many of us are already implementing this. I suppose the rubrics and marking schemes, even though it says here new requirement, but in practice, I've noticed that many of us already would have that in practice. The percentage of continuous and final assessment for a course at each level of study are presented in Table 7. The suggested forms of assessment indicated are merely examples. So in the document itself, there are examples. Of course, the spirit is that there should be various methods and tools appropriate for measuring learning outcomes and competencies of the students, especially now with the advancements of technology and so on. There are a lot more ways for us to actually evaluate students. But of course, for Bachelor of Accounting, especially, we have also to take note of the requirement of the professional bodies in terms of the requirement for assessment methods. Certain professional bodies would have certain requirements that we need to adhere to. So that is something that we have to also take into account when we design our program and our learning assessment. Okay, so this is the suggested forms of assessment. Of course, there will be written, oral, demonstration, presentation, final exam, assessment, quiz, assignment quiz. So this is quite similar to what we have been practicing now. Okay, for diploma, similarly, 40 to 50 for continuous, 50 to 60 for final assessment. Bachelor degree, slightly different. Continuous assessment, 40 to 70. Final assessment can be 30 to 70. And also, as I mentioned earlier, we have to take note in devising or in coming coming up with the assessment model. We have to also to be aware of the professional body's requirement in terms of written exam component as required by most professional body to be at a certain minimum level in order for our students to be able to get the exemptions from the professional papers. So that is something that we already practicing. Okay? So master's level, mixed mode research and so on. So, okay, student selection, area number 3. I would think that there's not no significant changes here in terms of entry requirement. Unless if I miss anything, I hope Wani can or other members of the team can assist me here. But I think as we discussed, there's no significant changes. This is for diploma. Except later, we will notice that there will be the Apple as one of the requirement to go into the program. Okay, bachelor's degree. Okay. Okay. This is, I think, quite standard for all program. Yeah, new entry requirement will be Apple.A. So Apple A provides an alternative entry route to formal program of study from certificate level 3 to master's level 7 through recognition of learning and experiences regardless of how and where it was required. Okay, so there is a specific guidelines for Apple There is guidelines to good practices accreditation of prior experiential learning. For more detail, you can actually refer to that. Okay, so usually at university level, there might be also different practices in terms of program, a requirement program that perhaps have new entry requirement from Apple. Okay, all right, academic staff. Also, I think there's no significant change here. For certificate level, of course, minimum requirement would be the bachelor degree in accounting. There's also a requirement that all professional qualification and bachelor degree in related field with 5 years of relevant working experience, meaning that for accounting, they have to have 5 relevant accounting related experience, working experience. There is a requirement also for academic staff, full-time, 60%. Part-time may consist of industry practitioners or academia, and there is a minimum requirement for each accounting field, and also there is a requirement for student staff ratio. Certificate is 1 to 30. For diploma, okay, similarly, a bachelor degree in accounting, professional qualification, or bachelor degree in related fields, but with 10 years of relevant working experience. And the rest, the staff, academic staff ratio and student staff ratio is the same, but the minimum number of academic staff in accounting field for each program is 3. Okay. For bachelor, a master's degree minimum in in related field, relevant accounting field, and a bachelor degree in accounting. A master's degree in accounting field and professional membership. Master degree in accounting and a bachelor degree in relevant accounting field. Perhaps this one is for a non-core limited courses taught. Bachelor degree in accounting in relevant accounting field, a member of professional bodies, recognized bachelor degree, but with a membership of professional bodies recognized by national accounting bodies with 5 years working experience. And in terms of requirement, 60% must be full-time, minimum number of staff, 5, and there is a student staff ratio of 1 to 30. Okay. All right. For master's degree and further, I will skip. I hope you can refer to the document itself for detail. Unless there's scope for discussion later, of course, we can revisit this. Okay. And as well as for the doctoral. All right. Okay, there's certain okay, sorry about that. Okay, area 5, also quite standard across programs. The standard will be requirements to have sufficient experts, the technical support facilities, of course, and the ones in red will be new requirements, as now we are most of us are embarking on internet-based education or online-based education. So there would be the requirements in red would be the requirements related to connectivity, internet connectivity, and also facilitate electronic devices, network, and so on. Okay, with access to internet. Online resources, lecture rooms with sufficient audio-visual facilities. I think many of us now, after the COVID experience, many of us have embarked on sort of hybrid mode of teaching learning, some physical, some online teaching learning. So this would be the new requirements if you were to have the elements or the components of online teaching learning in your universities. Okay. All right. Databases, access to softwares, appropriate LMS, the facilitate program delivery, self-instructional material. This is for ODL, and intellectual property rights and licensing for SIM, also for related to ODL. Okay, area 6, program management. Program management will be quite standard. I think there's no significant change here. Specific requirement usually for the program leader that need to be maintained by respective universities offering the program certificate level or diploma level. The requirements are as such: a bachelor degree, 2 years working experience or professional qualification, diploma, bachelor's degree, 3 years relevant working experience. So I think I will not go into much detail on this because usually, and because these are requirements which I think I not change. It's still similar. Okay, bachelor's degree for program leader. Okay. Okay, for master's degree, okay, doctoral degree in relevant accounting field, okay, or a master's degree with relevant accounting field, minimum 5 years, doctoral degree with minimum 2 years of relevant academic experience. Okay, because the focus at master's level will be more academic focus. Okay, area 7, program monitoring, review, and continual improvement. Also, I think this is quite standard. There is a requirement for quality enhancement where program need to be regularly monitored, reviewed, and evaluated. So the include responsibility of the department to monitor, review, and evaluate the structures and processes, curriculum components, as well as student progress, employability, and performance. So GGP will be the reviewing and continuing improving institutional quality. So this is also applicable to all programs across the board. And that's all from me. I hope it's clear to everyone. And I think it's time for us to listen. Unless any members of our team would like to add anything before we open the floor to the audience to ask questions or give comments. Is there anyone? Okay, thank you so much. So I now open for comments and questions.
Hey, good morning, Prof.
Please introduce yourself.
Hey, hi, good morning, Prof. My name is Man Fong, and I'm from the Malaysian Institute of Accountants, MIA.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much to Prof for your detailed presentation, and also, of course, credits given to the entire panel team from the MQA for very good improvement and also changes made to the program standards, in which MIA is definitely supportive with regards to the changes. There are a couple of areas that we would like to seek further clarification or perhaps feedback, but we'll do it in a very generic manner so that the rest of the participants could also have the opportunity to ask questions later on. The first area is from the entry requirements perspective, Prof, with regards to the Appel A, whereby earlier on MIA did also speak and engage with the MQA team, especially from the bahagian koordinasi dan rujukan jaminan quality, whereby there are quite a number of feedback being raised with regards to the entry requirements as to how do we want to recognize the working experience in replacement of academic requirements. Because at present, the MQA program standards, the revised one and the current one, is very restrictive on the academic requirements, but it was not very much detailedly explained on the working experience that could replace the academic requirements. So I think that will be one area that the MQA program standards can further enhance. And also during our engagement with MQA, quite a number of areas are still open at the moment as to what will be the specific requirements should someone from the accounting field is to enter a diploma or a degree program of accounting based on their working experience that they have gathered out there. I think that could be tightened up so that there will be a consistency between the MQA program standards and also the Appel A specific requirements pertaining to accounting. And we also heard that other fields like engineering, for example, they have certain specific requirements being spelled out in the event if Appel is to be applied. So that will be on the entry requirements. On the second part will be on the teaching requirements of the academicians. We welcome a lot of changes being made. And one of the areas that we notice is on the professional qualifications of the lecturers, whereby it is being mentioned as one of the prerequisite requirement, but it was not being mentioned as a mandatory requirement. While we do respect the fact that it will be quite challenging sometimes to set a specific mandatory requirement on this, but having a percentage or a recommended percentage may actually be very much a positive move for the universities, especially if they wanted to encourage more academicians with professional qualifications or working experience that could sort of also balance up and address some of the issues that the academicians are facing, such as the challenge to get practitioners to core teach the program or even to have an adjunct professor teaching a specific program. And we truly believe that having a generic recommended percentage of lecturers with professional qualification will do good, which can also address some of other issues that the lecturers are facing, such as the inability to also pursue professional qualifications and some restrictions that they may have from their end. So that will be my second feedback on the teaching requirement. And the third feedback from us is on the CPE requirements of the academician. We welcome the fact that the panel has considered the minimum number of hours required, but it will also be imperative to note that the CPE requirements for the lecturers should be in fact be relevant to the areas that they are teaching. So more often than not, we have seen lecturers attending a lot of trainings, but unfortunately, some of those trainings are not relevant to their area of study, and some may not even be relevant to those areas of research. So it may be very important at least to set a requirement that certain hours have got to be a structured credit hours relevant to the areas of teaching. Yep. And another area that we notice is on the one of the internship requirements or the working experience requirements for the diploma program, whereby at present there was no mandatory requirement. But however, we felt that certain program like the specialist diploma, for example, whereby it was quoted an example of diploma in taxation, it would be good to consider the internship requirements for these specialist diploma programs. And why do we mention that? Is because during our interaction with the diploma students and also the universities out there are a lot of challenges, especially the students who are pursuing specialist diploma. They are unable to really visualize the real actual working experience requirement and also the documents are required out there. So it is mainly more towards them memorizing the terms and also the documents without having a feel of what are the real documents required in terms of the submission. For example, submission to the SSM or even submission to the IRB, what are the documents required. So having the internship requirements will do good, especially for the specialist diploma. Please, we respect that the general diploma may not necessarily have that requirement as one of the mandatory one. And moving on, we have two more feedback. That would be, one of this is on the ethics and professionalism, which we really welcome the fact that it has been mentioned throughout the revised MQA program standards, but it was not very much emphasized on the MIA bylaws, whereby we got to know that a lot of diploma programs have already embedded the MIA bylaws. And in fact, the bylaws on professional ethics, conduct, and practice are very much based on the ISBA as well. So we do hope that this is being continued to be emphasized even in the program standards, in addition to the international standards that was generically mentioned in the document. It will be good so that there will be a continuum from the diploma all the way to the degree program, whereby this bylaw is part of the requirements as well. And the last feedback that we have is on the passing mark being proposed by the panel, whereby there should be, the students should pass both the continuous and the final assessment, whereby we definitely welcome that suggestion, especially this will tighten up the quality of the students and to ensure that they will at least also pass the final assessment in addition to the continuous assessment. But one point of consideration to the panel is probably some guidance note as to how do we really want to determine on the passing of the final assessment, because some universities may have a different passing mark, and also some university may have a different form of metrics when it comes to the meeting of the learning outcome of the program. So in order to ensure that there is actually very much a standardized form of assessment, and also to ensure a very consistent quality is being assessed throughout the university, we may actually propose to have a further guidance note as to how do we determine on the passing mark of the particular program, and also the metrics being embedded in terms of the meeting of the learning outcome, because a passing mark for one university at 50% could be different from another university at 40% despite having the metrics. So maybe some guidance may be useful for the learning providers at the same time. I think that's all for me for now, and I'm happy to hear feedback from the panel, and we'll also be happy to submit our feedback through the document at a later stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monfong, for very insightful comments and suggestions. We truly welcome the comments and suggestions. I can also invite my colleagues here if they have further information to respond to your questions or comments. As for one is on the FLA, we actually discussed about that as well. And to be frank, we are also not very clear at the moment yet in terms of implementation of the FLA. There is something that we have to draft further, how FLA requirements can be applied in the context of accounting. I don't know if any of the colleagues here would have any experience. Maybe Dr. Chong, do you have any view on this? I personally, we have not experienced it yet. And it's a new thing. Many are not familiar with this yet.
Yeah, I'm not into FLA too much as well, but then we know about the program learning outcome, the course learning outcome, all that to be complied. But then, of course, I think Mr. Leong may be referring to what need to be put as the yardstick from our side.
Prior learning, experiential learning. Yeah. I think that there is something that we need to have further discussion with the industry as well. I think how, in the context of accounting, how do we actually implement it? What will be the guidance? Because we don't want, at the end of the day, at practical level, if not enough guidance, we would see too many variants of practices that will not be good for us. Anyone, Fanny, or I don't know, anyone else might have might have a view on this.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Mungkin saya boleh tambah sedikit berkenaan dengan pemakaian apel dalam sebagai syarat kemasukan ke mana-mana program di IPT, as long as dia memenuhi keperluan MQF lah, level dalam MQF dan sebagainya, LO dan sebagainya. Jadi untuk makluman, mungkin saya nak menambah sikit Prof berkenaan dengan apel. Mungkin yang Prof maksudkan tu adalah berkenaan dengan GGP yang baru. Kita ada keluarkan pada bulan Januari 2023, kita ada keluarkan garis panduan untuk apel A dan juga apel M. Apel M which is for the program micro-credential lah. Okey, untuk apel A ni maksudnya kita telah ada yang baru pemakaian untuk bagi level T7 and T8 untuk sarjana, untuk program master dan juga PhD, serta untuk advanced diploma T5. Bagi kalau master dengan PhD tu bagi program research dan juga untuk kosuk lah dan juga mixed mode. Okey. Jadi pemakaian itu kita telah berkuat kuasa bagi melalui perkeliling pada Januari 2023 dan kita juga sedang akan adakan kajian rintis untuk pemakaian garis panduan yang barulah. Okey. Jadi sebenarnya mungkin dari segi soalan aptitude test dan sebagainya itu kita ada panel lantikan untuk apel itself yang akan melihat, yang akan mendapatkan feedback daripada industri berkenaan dengan keperluan calon-calon apel untuk masuk ke peringkat lebih tinggi lah. Itu adalah dia punya guideline untuk apel. Jadi mungkin pihak MIA, Mr. Leong Man Fong boleh refer juga kepada GP pemakaian apel tersebut. Terima kasih.
I think the second one on the teaching requirement, yes, I think this is a long-standing suggestions that we have heard before about having professional qualification for the teaching staff. Of course, I think as for public universities, usually as we all know, the pay scheme may not be very encouraging at the moment to have people with professional qualification. But I do welcome your suggestion that perhaps by having a certain percentage of staff with professional requirements, of course that would be good to have. But whether it's mandatory at what level, that is subject to further discussion. I think, of course, it is very welcome for us to have a certain number of academic with teaching staff with professional qualification, but how much is good? How many would be best? I think that would have to be subject of further deliberation. On CPE requirements, of course, any of my team, you can chip in anytime you feel that you have any view on it, or even among other members also, the audience. CPE requirements, yes. I think each university would have certain training requirements, certain number of hours per year. For accounting, I do also notice your observation that there are trainings which may not be really related to the specific areas of teaching or research. That is something that I myself also observe when we do go around and look into programs of various universities. So that is something that would be very good to have as well. Diploma specialists, yeah, I think there is something, a very good suggestion from you, something that we have perhaps will discuss further. So when we discuss about this, that's why we didn't put the total number of credits, because we also like trying to explore further what would be the best. And we had that discussion also, whether diploma be how if not having internship, what will be the plus and the minuses. And there are also, when I visit certain universities, they are also saying, even though it's not required, what if we still want to continue with it? So it depends on the capacity of certain institution. If you have the capacity to actually provide a good industrial training experience to your student, that would be very much encouraged. But for specialists, I think I do see your point, and I do agree with you. It is something that we will discuss further on that. On the MIA bylaws, yeah, we will explore further on that, on the ethics and professionalism. On the passing marks, your observation is exactly what I had in my mind as well when we first look at it. How do we go about it when at implementation level, perhaps different universities would have different, definitely currently also would have different definition of what is a passing mark. Whether some guidance note, of course, some guidance note will be good. At the same time, we will also need to be aware that some universities would have their own requirement that the program need to adhere to. So that is something also we need to deliberate further with MQA. How do we go about it? Thank you very much, Manfung. As usual, you always have very good comment and feedback. Thank you so much for taking the time to actually go over the document and provide us the valuable input.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Salam.
Prof, I'm Shazrin from Curriculum Department, Jabatan Pengajian Politeknik and College Community. So we taking concern on the certain portions or percentage for the educators to have professional qualification that has been raised by MIA. Just to let you know that, because currently for Polytechnic, we have 16 institutions that offered diploma in accountancy. So if there is a compulsory, or maybe we can say a certain portion that has been highlighted for all the lecturers to have professional qualifications. So the first thing first come to mind is it will be effect in terms of our financials, in term of to support for the qualifications, for the fees, actually for the fees to take professional qualification. So I do hope this thing can be further discussed, because currently we have hundreds of lecturers, consists of 16 polytechnic that offer the program. So it's going to be quite financially burden for Jabatan Pengajian Politeknik to take into consideration all these matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Shazrin, for your comment. Yeah, for us public institution, I don't know, Dr. Chong, private, we always assume you have lots of money, whereas public universities, always the limitation is the finance. Whether the requirement will be applicable to Polytech, or whether should it be applicable for those teaching bachelor degree. So that is something that we have to discuss further as well. Certainly having the professional requirement would be a big plus to the students as well as to the institution in general. But usually the strike a balance, where would the money come from? Usually the main concern for public institution. Any other? Azia raise a hand. No, sorry, I didn't.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam, Prof. Haslinda.
Yes, Assalamualaikum. I am Haslinda from UiTM and also from the Dean's Council. Thank you very much, Prof. Cik Rana, for the presentation. And I think from our part, especially from my university, we have already given detailed comments. But I think I would like to highlight here for further deliberation. Firstly, with regards to the percentage of the lecturers just now, we need to be more alert and trying to consider the nature of the institution. Maybe not to be too rigid on setting certain percentage of the professional qualification, but more of the active engagement, collaboration with the professionals into the curriculum, rather than putting the percentage to the lecturers only. That's one. The other one is, my comment is on the assessment of student learning, especially on the new ruling or the new additional point on the overall passing of must be, what was it? Both the continuous and the final. Our comment was not to be that rigid towards both component must be passed, but more of the overall passing of the subject of the course. And the most important thing here is about ensuring the students attaining the learning outcomes, rather than just looking at it. They have to pass both components. If the panels and MQA still into that particular point, I hope that there's more clarification and description on the level of pass, because in the draft, it is mentioned about each institution, you leave it to the institution to define the level of pass and so on, which that again open up, I don't know, inconsistency maybe on that part. So yeah, so that's the other one. And the last one is in table 3 on the assessment again, where the range of the maximum continuous assessment is kept 40 to 70. Our suggestion is to reduce that a little bit to 60, and giving more of the final assessment a higher cap, in consideration of the expectation and some requirement from the professional body on the cognitive and the exam. So our suggestion is to cap it to 60 for the continuous. Other comments, I will leave it to our submission to you guys to deliver it further. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Haslinda. I think your comment on percentage of lecturers with professional qualification is quite similar with what we heard from Shazrin earlier. And your suggestion would be, instead of having the requirement because of at the backdrop of the various limitation or constraints, perhaps that can be replaced with some engagement with professional or industries, instead of having the professional qualification. We take note of that. On assessment of student, I think this is MQA requirement. I'm not sure. It seems that all the new standards that come out, all adopting the same requirement, meaning that the passing of both components. This is not just unique for accounting. It's already been applied to business, computer science, and the rest that have come up with the new standard recently. So there is something that perhaps we have, because in the afternoon, there's another engagement that we're going to have with the MQA management. There is something that we'll bring forward to the afternoon meeting. Your comment on that. All right, on the range, I think the committee was aware of the requirement of having 70% exam component by the professional bodies. But when we look at it, the committee, I think perhaps Prof. Sofri can help me also. The spirit was that to because 70% exam, it doesn't mean exam, final exam. It can be written component, which can be part of the continuous assessment as well. So by having, for example, 60% final exam, you still can have the exam component or written exam component as part of the continuous assessment. But the reason why it's giving cap up to 70% is to allow a little bit more, what do we call it, flexibility, as well as creativity or innovativeness in terms of coming up with the assessment. It need not have to be purely final exam based. It can be the exam component, for example, can be part of the continuous exam. You can have your final exam 30%, for example, and the other 40% of written exam to fulfill the requirement of professional bodies, for example, can take form of in the continuous assessment. So that was I think the backdrop against this suggestion. Because I think when I think all of us, we notice our students are too exam oriented and whether exams will be good for them, or whether they most of them would study only for exam, like it or not. That is what we have observed so far. So perhaps I don't know, by having a little variety in terms of what they can to assess them, probably would be good for them. Anyone who want to respond to that point on the assessment, on the range, whether we keep it to 40 to 60 as a diploma 40 to 50 and 50 to 60, whether the range can be lowered for continuous assessment to 40, 60. Continuous assessment 40, 60 to final exam. Yeah, something that we will, of course, all the comments that we gather written.
For a while, my heart stopped already.
Whether all the comments that we get written, as well as oral comments that we have, will bring forward to the next our next workshop. We're going to collect all the comments and we're going to deliberate further before we actually finalize the document. This is part of the feedback session, which is very important for us. Anyone else? Is there any written, Wani, written comment?
Ya, Prof.
Okay.
Okay, sini ada satu, saya dah reply lah, dah bantu reply di ruangan chat. Okay, ada satu ni daripada Mr. Azamin. Perhaps MIA can recognize more universities for membership or help us to gain recognition. Itu mungkin minta daripada MIA tu, boleh tolong respon.
Itu dekat mana tu? Dekat
chat. Ruangan chat. Ya.
Okay. Okay, while waiting, I nampak dekat chat ni, the comment daripada
Kita boleh
Naimah.
pass this question to MIA also later.
Ya.
Tak ada representative. Ya.
Ya, untuk program ACCA, ICAW yang diakreditasi oleh pihak MQA, minimum kredit boleh bertukar pada 120 and program standard must be 126. I guess untuk program accreditation, professional bodies, usually they require the mapping of the contents of the program, the courses, not necessarily the credit. Am I correct, Dr. Chong, with that statement?
The mapping,
Usually,
an exam.
Assessment, the mapping of the contents is not so much about the total credit. Okay.
I think the standard is complying the minimum, so the IPD can do the necessary to comply with the professional bodies.
Ada yang tanya if our program is currently Bachelor of Accounting and Finance, which category it would fall? Itu yang kita debate on it juga.
Challenging.
Macam mana Wani respond to that? The Bachelor of Accounting and Finance.
Yang ini if our program is currently called Bachelor of Accounting and Finance, it will fall under which of 4 category? Kalau dekat sini, yang ini yang specialized double major and so on, Prof, kan?
Kalau
ini saya rasa Prof, nanti kita akan tengok semula based on the feedback, mungkin can be part in the double major. In the double major dalam structure tu, tetapi saya pasti based on hasil feedback ini kita akan lihat semula keperluan untuk yang 4 kategori itu sama ada minor, specialized dan so on, dan juga ada mungkin kita boleh tambah tentang double major jugalah Prof.
Juga ni tadi berkenaan dengan requirement ini daripada Wani MPU ni.
Ya betul, sebab bila kita comparekan dengan the old standard program, yang standard program yang lama MPU 12 kredit, dia 18 ke 27, tapi dia mention dekat situ kalau tengok yang lama 12 to 14 kredit yang ditetapkan oleh Kementerian Pendidikan. Jadi yang kami lihat tingginya di situlah yang menyebabkan perbezaan jumlah tersebut.
Sebab tu kita tengok hala 7 dia berdasarkan keperluan kementerian.
Betul.
Sebab tu dia lebih banyak. Okay. So any there's a reply from Unfong. Sonia, I'm from Utah program, Bachelor of Commerce, Honors, Accounting. 126 credit should be under which category? Macam mana Wani? Ini macam tadi jugalah. Kita kena further tengok whether is it fall under accounting, because you're naming. Sometimes we notice, we do acknowledge that program that come especially not homegrown program, the naming is different from Australia, from UK. The naming is Australia usually use Bachelor of Commerce.
Betul.
Yeah.
Cuma saya ingin mohon kepada partisipan yang memberikan maklum balas ni, sebab kami ada bagi dokumen, draft dokumen dan juga maklum balas untuk ULEC lah. Mohon nyatakan maklum balas ini dalam link yang telah saya berikan untuk tujuan kami record. Dan juga untuk penambahbaikan selepas sesi stakeholder, dan saya juga telah letakkan link dekat dalam ruangan chat untuk akses for the documents, dan juga link di ruangan chat untuk Google Form untuk mengisi maklum balas tersebut lah. Saya mohon kepada semua yang berkenaan dengan perkara itu.
Yang pasal Wani, any comment on the assessment, both requirement Prof Haslinda tadi tanya?
Okey, bagi assessment ni Prof, pada pandangan ni lah, biasanya assessment ni dia diukur berdasarkan kepada pass both assessment, kan? Sebab keperluan program ada yang dia perlu hanya, yang macam kita bincang semasa bengkel di hari tu, sama ada dia perlu pass both ataupun salah satu, bergantung kepada keperluan program lah. Jadi itulah untuk penilaian both summative and formative assessment tersebut. Tapi saya rasa untuk program standard accounting kita perlukan kedua-dua ni, Prof. Macam mana? Mungkin Prof dan juga panel boleh tolong bantu ulas itu?
Ya, itu subject to debate lah. Memanglah masa kita nak bincang pasal tu pun, the practices at universities are quite different kan. Ada yang memang require both, ada yang require overall macam Prof Haslinda cakap. Any comment from our members? Tapi of course we could see that at practical level ada kekangan dari segi some university. Misalnya I'm talking from our university lah point of view. Dia punya sistem tu does not cater to this. Maknanya if we were to have requirement, sistem nak masukkan markah tu. If we were to have this requirement, we need to seek advice from the developer of the system to make some adjustment. Because currently this system does not cater to overall pass, mean pass both component. Currently the system just cater to overall pass, meaning overall pass is equal to pass. So there will be a situation where a student may fail one of the component, but still at the end would pass. Let's say they, for some reason, they didn't do the assignment well, but in final exam they scored A, so they're still able to come out as overall pass. And also there is also at practical level differences in terms of practices. Even the what would be a passing mark also is different across different institutions. So how do we cater to that? So I think we're going to discuss further about this, because the other standards, the other program also apply similar standards. So we can actually discuss further with them, especially those who have gone through the implementation rounds. Perhaps there will be further guidance there. So if we can have some practice guidance, that would be good. I think we take note of all those comments, and we're going to bring forward to the next discussion and try to find a landing point for this particular issue. Okay. Need further clarification about working experience of a program leader. I think it's quite clear, except for the master's and degree. I think the others are quite clear in terms of the requirement of having program leader who are in the relevant experience. I think up to, because there is, let me, itu bidang berapa oh yeah, program leader. Okay, for example, certificate, a bachelor's degree, 2 years of relevant working experience, meaning that somebody with a bachelor degree and have worked in accounting related job for 2 years. Okay, diploma as well. So when they say relevant working experience, meaning professional experience or industry experience in the related area. Okay? Whereas bachelor also similar, but when you go to master's, it's relevant academic experience is quite clearly stated there, because master's and doctoral would be more related to research. So the experience need not have to be industry experience. It can be academic experience. Right? Anyone else? We still have time. I do hope that you do respond in writing, so that the points that you have can be brought forward in our next discussion. your feedback surely is very important to us, so that we can cover most of the pertinent areas of concern. Okay.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Yeah, Dr. Hassan, yes.
I'm Hassan from MMU. Again, I would like to highlight and agree with the comment on the coursework. Again, because we are using systems as well, it's going to be very challenging from our side to streamline coursework, maybe 50% pass, because by the end of the day, again, student pass based on the overall marks. There's going to be a very big change and challenge for us because everything is system computer kan. So really hoping on the relaxed on that particular requirement. Thank you.
Okay, we take note of your comment. Right, thank you, Hasni. Anyone?
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Salam.
Okay. Saya ada permintaan. This one is just administrative one, just a minor one. Okay, for entry requirement to bachelor's program, we have a requirement on MUET, and at the same time we have another requirement for passing SPM English. Okay, for the part on SPM English, there is an exemption clause in the note table below the entry requirement to say that SPM English can be exempted with MUET. However, it doesn't say vice versa, whereby MUET is mentioned separately at the beginning, not together with the SPM English. So the vice versa may be not taken as implied. So I hope instead of putting two separate requirements, we can just combine them together, maybe slash just next to SPM English slash MUET, something like that. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you, Azmin. Wani, any comment on that? Yeah, and of course the MUET, Bantu, and yeah, I noticed that.
Okay, Prof.
The N and O kan?
Yeah.
N.
So referring to page 39 regarding on entry requirement for bachelor's degree level 6, kita dinyatakan MUET, Bantu, and O kan? Okay, saya rasa tentang perkara ini mungkin kita akan perhalusi semula. Terima kasih Cik Azamin for the feedback. Mungkin kita akan perhalusi semula regarding on this matter for the yang akan masuk. Kita kena lihat juga kepada keperluan lah, mungkin MUET untuk kemasukan ke public university tetapi tidak diperlukan untuk ke private. Macam nanti kita tengok balik. Okay, itu.
Okay, right. Okay, thank you. There is a note from Suresh. Need clarification on common format modules. Is marketing on entrepreneurship subject relevant to accounting BO? Kindly advise. Be okay. Can be optional as long as we cover common core percentage. Okay. All right. Azimin also said other program standard do not require MUET. That is something that we will definitely discuss again at the committee level. If other program, whether we are consistent with other program. On the entrepreneurship and marketing and entrepreneurship, if it's a body of knowledge, we have the common and we have the core, right? So under the common, because we have also the domains, MQA domains, MQF 2.0 that we also have to fulfill. So there is entrepreneurial skills there as well. So I think that is the reason why entrepreneurship and marketing is part of the business and organizational environment. I know that I think in the previous Hala Tuju, marketing was not a requirement, right? But the current Hala Tuju marketing is inserted back as a common core requirement for the bachelor level program. I okay, under the Hala Tuju, yeah, there is. I'm not sure about entrepreneurship, because it's not listed as one of the common core under Hala Tuju. Under Tuju, ethics, governance, strategic management, marketing, business law and corporate law, stats, economics. So these are the common core. You're right, entrepreneurship is not there, but I know for some universities, they do require entrepreneurship as part of the university courses. So it's somewhere there. So if you were to map to the domain, MQF domain, it should be somewhere in the program, either as part of the university courses or as part of common core. I think there is a flexibility there. So any comment, maybe from experience, if Dr. Chong, you have any sharing there? If we could help our friend here.
No, no. Actually, we can park it under elective.
Under elective.
Discussion earlier.
Okay. Yeah. So entrepreneurship is under elective. Yeah.
Yeah. If they want to park in, because when we discuss, we only put the minimum requirement.
Yeah. But marketing is one of the common core required, right? Remember?
I think so. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because we want to be aligned to the Hala Tuju as well, so that to lessen the need to comply to Hala Tuju, need to comply to standard. We don't want the too much inconsistencies. So that's why we try as much as possible for bachelor degree to align to the Hala Tuju. So when it comes to implementation, less confusion there. But for entrepreneurship, it's not listed as requirement. But for certain university, at least for UM, I know it's one of the university courses that we need to. Entrepreneurship is one of the areas that we need to make sure that it's catered for. So either as part of the university courses or as part of common core, it's something that can be considered. Anyone else?
No, Prof. I'm Anuddin from Unit 10.
All right.
Okay, just nak tanya berkaitan dengan pengumuman daripada Menteri, Menteri berkaitan dengan jadual anjal. Dan dia tak ada mention dalam standard ni, ataupun how is the approach of us lah berkaitan dengan jadual anjal ni. Okay, thank you.
Jadual anjal ni apa? Sorry, my ignorance.
Prof, boleh saya respon berkenaan dengan jadual anjal ni? Okay. Untuk makluman, YBM Menteri baru saja announce berkenaan pelaksanaan jadual anjal, dan I believe ini di peringkat permulaan, di mana jadual anjal ni pelajar boleh berada di rumah, macam lebih kurang 2 to I, tapi lebih kepada 2U1H ke dan sebagainya. Okay, jadi untuk makluman tuan yang bertanya, perkara ini adalah di bawah bidang kuasa bahagian dasar dan bukannya di bawah bahagian standard. Bukan di bawah program standard. Jadi sebab keperluan bidang jadual anjal ni bukan hanya kepada serta-serta program standard, mungkin terpakai untuk semua, tetapi masih diperhalusi lagi pelaksanaannya dan akan dilihat semula oleh bahagian dasar lah tuan. Okay. Dan
Prof. Amanuddin, you are too advanced. Sorry, my ignorance.
Okay, Prof. Okay, thank you.
Dia segi implementation lah, how you going to
Dan juga kalau saya boleh tambah sikit, KPT juga belum lagi keluarkan apa-apa maklumat berkenaan dengan perkara ini, dan ini lebih kepada mood penawaran program dan bukannya part of the structure of the program. Jelas Tuan Terima kasih.
penawaran. Macam ODL is one of the method to penawaran, but the structure remain the same. So how you going to actually offer it to the public? That will be an area where innovation and creativity of each respective university would come in. All right, very good. Anyone else? Boleh balik awal nampak gayanya. All right, I think calling 1, 2, 3. If no more, let's see messages. When is the official use of this standard, Prof. Haslinda? Menteri, yeah, we need to look further in terms of certain programs to implement it. As Wani said, of course, we need to hear more details about this and discuss further. The official standard, we hope, according to our timeline, it should be finalized by 4th quarter of this year. So most likely by next year, Wani, bulan berapa agaknya?
InsyaAllah kita akan bentangkan, insyaAllah atas izinannya kita akan cuba bentangkan pada the quarter 4 in the council meeting MQA, dan insyaAllah pada tahun depan lah. Tetapi kita akan keluarkan perkeliling atau surat maklumat berkenaan dengan pemakaian program standard, dan kebiasaannya MQA juga akan berikan the grace period untuk PPT bersedia lah berkenaan dengan pemakaian program standard yang baru.
Okay.
Prof, kalau saya boleh tambah sedikit.
Okay, Prof. Haslinda.
Okay, because my question earlier, because all universities kita tengah dalam proses perlu untuk semak curriculum review according to Hala 74. So we are also waiting for the program standard to, hopefully whatever changes and so on. I know that the committee in the program standard, there's also a rep from the Dean's Council and so on. So hopefully it's in line with the Hala 74 so that we don't work back and forth. We are working on the Hala 74, hence also taking into consideration the program standard. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that is the very first thing that we reminded ourselves, the committee, that we have to make sure that is aligned, because we know every one of us who manage the program, we know that what headache would be if they are not aligned. Okay, we ensure that it's aligned, and in fact the standard is have even much lower requirements, if you notice, compared to the Hala 7. Hala 7 is actually a little bit more stringent comparatively. Yeah, we do take that in mind when we every time we discuss about the bachelor degree program. There's Nadia who said that maybe one thing that panel can consider to add in the program standard is on the working teaching load of program leader and lecturers. Well, we can discuss about that because sometimes the implementation varies across the institution, because each institution would have their own policies. What is the minimum teaching requirement in one institution may be different compared to another one, depending on the unique circumstances that each institution has. If a teaching university, of course, they would have bigger number of teaching load compared to a research university, for example. Even across the research university also not necessarily the same as well. So yeah, we will take note and discuss this point as well in our next meeting. and whether or not is it something that we can suggest or not is subject to further deliberation and guidance from MQA. All right. Anyone else? One last chance for you to say something. All right. I guess we can close the meeting earlier, I suppose. Wani, ada nak ambil gambar ke apa? Hopefully, those of you who can turn on your camera, we can take a picture as a record for MQA.
Okay, boleh kita turn on the camera. Mr. Sajrin, Puan Hazwani, Mr. Azamin, boleh on the camera. Okay, Encik Zulfazla, Amaluddin.
Barulah nampak Hasninya, Aziminnya, Amanuddinnya. Kalau tak cap. Oh, there's 3 of you rather. Yeah, okay, you can come into the picture. All right.
Okay, saya sleeping terus. Saya kejap ya, saya kena ni. Okay. Sebentar. Saya kena satu-satu sebab ramai partisipan. Antara yang teramai 100 lebih. Everyone kena standby senyum all the time. And everyone please senyum all the time sebab saya nak habis satu. Right. Okay. Okay, sebentar lagi satu. And this is the last one. Okay, done. Selesai.
Okay, before we leave, again, my on behalf of the committee, our heartfelt appreciation to all of you for taking the time to be with us and giving valuable comments for us to the standard. Thank you very much. Hope to hear from you again. So if you have any written comment, please forward to MQA so that it will be ready for our next discussion. Thank you very much, everyone. All the best.
Terima kasih semua. Terima kasih. Prof, Kajian nak minta. Thank you. Okay, terima kasih.
Panel stay ke?
Ataupun panel stay sekejap lah, Prof.
Panel stay kejap. Tak nampak Nomazila.
Dr. Chong left.
Dr. Chong.
Nomazila cannot join.
Dr. Nomazila tak boleh masuk tadi.
Bukan, dia masuk live stream.
Ya.
Dia tak dapat masuk